In the attempt to both understand and enhance behavior on the public level, scholars in our time are pursuing areas of research far beyond Mandeville's. Economists are asking whether compassion is no more, no less than Adam Smith's explanation that self-interest controls the economy and everything else. Is laissez-faire, for instance, this commitment to let the social system wind its way unimpeded, like water going downhill, until the interests of the strongest determine the destiny of the weak, really our most credible hope for economic security? Or is the explanation of compassion a psychological one, that we do unto others because it makes us feel good about ourselves? Or do we do good for others more out of a concern for our public image than for the quality of our personal morality? Is the foundation of compassion nothing more than a need for status and appearance for the sake of public award, the picture in the paper, the Rotary Club pin, the Citizen of the Year plaque? All of those explanations, each one of them, have been long held. All of them once totally credible arguments in the academic community. In fact, all of those motives may well be true in an overpopulated world where attention is premium, but they do not account for the massive outflow of human concern that keeps our private little world spinning toward rightness day after day after day. They simply do not account for private international adoptions of overwhelming difficulty, or for those groups who confront their own national evils with massive efforts at public good, or for all those individuals who labor unknown in behalf of a multitude of unknown sufferers from whom no reciprocal altruism can possibly be expected. No, to explain the continual outpouring of unknown, unheralded, unrequited efforts in behalf of those who have no claim on us at all, theories of personal aggrandizement are simply not sufficient. For those, we need better answers than that. We need a wider cosmic vision, a deeper spiritual well from which to draw answers that never go away, however weak the economy, whoever the so-called enemy, whatever the next population of anonymous victims. And those answers come from two places. One, unlikely for its source. One, overwhelming for its historical improbability. The first answer, the unlikely one, comes out of science and neurobiology. In laboratories around the globe now, with technologies unknown until your age and mine, neurologists are conducting one test after another of MRIs, brain scans, electrographic prints, neurotransmitters, genetic codes, and evolutionary paleontology that prove the relationship between the relational and the emotive regions of the brain, that measure, in other words, human emotional responses and reactions to somebody else's pain. Evolutionary scientists tell us, contrary to the older theory of the selfish gene, that the brain is actually configured for compassion, for suffering with the suffering of others. The later day evolution of the limbic brain, they tell us, with its capacity for feelings, for emotions, for bonding, mark the human as more human, the less self-centered we may be. What's more, evolutionary biologists explain the very preservation of the species requires it. The scientific findings are cataclysmic. They're overflowing with hope. They're enormous in their implications. Compassion, we know now, is not a social facade. Compassion is not a scam, a sham, designed to mask our essential self-centeredness. Compassion is the emotion that links us to those outside ourselves. It is the capacity for outreach. It enables us, it drives us to go beyond ourselves to the beating pulse of the world. Compassion, in other words, is a verb. It's a veritable dimension of what it means to be fully human, to be a dues-paying member of the human race. It evolved beyond the self-preservative survival level of the reptilian brain to become part of the species' preservative functions of a later evolving limbic system. Compassion is, in fact, hardwired into the brain. It is what makes us truly human. And we know the level of brain damage by a person's degree of distance away from compassion. Clearly, it is evolutionary science that is the unlikely proof of our spiritual instincts. The other proof, the second proof, the overwhelmingly improbable proof historically of the universalism of compassion is religion. Religion, with all their diversities of creeds and canons, rituals and liturgies, all their conflicting truth claims, all their standard brand assertions of superiority, all their traditional differences, have two things in common. At the base of every religion, however distinct, however unique they claim themselves to be, stand two identical pillars. One, the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And the other, the undisputed and indispensable moral compass of them all, compassion, the unwavering ability to feel pain that is not our own and to set out to do something about it. In Hinduism, compassion, daya, is one of the three central virtues. It's rooted in ahimsa, the Hindu commitment to do no harm. The Kural, the classic of couplets, the first book of Hindu ethics, teaches, quote, find and follow the good path and be ruled by compassion. For if all the various ways are examined, compassion will prove the means to your own liberation. In Buddhism and its commitment to end suffering, compassion is the very core, the warm center of the tradition. Would it be true to say, Ananda, the Buddhist secretary, is said to have asked him, that the cultivation of loving kindness and compassion is a part of our practice? To which the Buddha replied, no, it would not be true to say that the cultivation of loving kindness is part of our practice. It would be true to say that the cultivation of loving kindness is all of our practice. In Judaism, the Talmud teaches, that which is hateful unto you, do not impose on others. And the great Rabbi Maimonides adds to that, this is the heart of the Torah. All the rest is commentary. Go and study it. Made in the image of God, one of those 13 attributes is compassion, Judaism teaches. It's our obligation to be the same. In Christianity, the golden rule is echoed on every page of the Gospels. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy, Jesus teaches in the Sermon on the Mount, which is Christianity's anthem to holiness. And later, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. And again, if robbed of your cloak, give them your coat, your purse as well. Finally, in Islam, 113 of the 114 chapters of the Quran open in the name of God, the most merciful, most compassionate. It is this God of compassion whom the Muslim strives to imitate, beginning every day, every prayer, and every significant action by calling upon that name. Captives, widows, orphans, and the poor, the Quran teaches, must receive conscious and continual compassion. Even the fast of the holy month of Ramadan is designed to enable the average Muslim to identify with the hunger pangs of those who have nothing, so that all may be fed as we would feed ourselves. As believers then from every tradition, whoever you are, wherever you're from, every era, every revelation of yours, however unique we all see ourselves to be, we are one in this commitment to care for one another to care for those who are without, to care for our enemies, to care for all sentient beings, to create a caring, compassionate society. It's compassion that is the divinely dangerous glue of the human race. It is compassion, this thread of God that runs through the soul of the human race, that enables us all to react with one great agonizing cry together at the obscenity of war against anyone in this world, at the very thought of torture, at the denial of human rights anywhere to anyone. Compassion is the borderless world of humanity. It is the key to a truly human, fully human society. It transcends sexism, racism, nationalism, chauvinism, and religious denominationalism. Science confirms its neurological reality in the human species. Religion clings to its spiritual reality, its universally divine mandate, its global human responsibility. Without it, the human race, you and I, all of us, everything we love, everything we've ever known, is at the mercy of its lower self. And our chances in a highly technological, deeply stressed, inordinately frightened, inhumanely oppressed, and pathetically uncivilized world are slim to nothing unless we recover, revive, rejuvenate, and rebuild a commitment to universal compassion, to a caring society here and everywhere. Clearly, it is a dangerous time. Who of us does not quake at the news of genocide as an instrument of war, Holocaust, the planned extermination of entire populations is not gone. It is even now the world's stock in trade in Darfur, in Bosnia, in Rwanda, in the Congo. And the world flinches, winces, grimaces in disbelief, in horror, in shame. And there's more to come, they tell us. Paul Kennedy, internationally recognized historian and holder of the Dilworth Chair in History at Yale University, in his work Preparing for the 21st Century, describes 6 major global crises of this new century. First, he cites the population explosion and the shifting demographic patterns that this rise in population rates around the world is spawning as region after region faces desertification and the loss of arable land enough to sustain the burden of rising populations everywhere. If you think the immigration question is tough now, you wait for 10 years. But while the starving flood across borders looking for work and following the garbage cans of the world, how can we have peace without political compassion? How can we say we care as millions starve on TV screens in our living rooms? Second, he teaches that the communications revolution brings with it a facility for shifting massive amounts of wealth from one side of the globe to the other at the touch of a finger and in seconds. And while whole nations then find themselves owned by foreign companies who demand tax-free status in host countries everywhere, how can we possibly hope for peace in the face of global poverty and the immigration issues that implies without legislative compassion? Third, he reminds us biotechnology shifts food production to laboratories in the West, where the new seeds genetically engineered in them are non-reproducible. As this new technological reality threatens to make food itself a weapon of mass destruction, what can possibly achieve peace and save one part of the world from becoming the beggared vassals of another part of the world without national compassion?